And also to build their pyramid as an exact scale replica of Earth.
Very true.
You need a lot of math to do
you gotta
that.
do that. You're gonna
If
need
you gotta
and they're lined up with those fucking stars,
Yeah.
Orion's belt and shit. Like
you're gonna line up giant buildings with the stars that are the exact, like, it's a scale
where like
model.
the sun comes in at this perfect time at the solstice and
Yes.
shit every year, like on money. Like at 12 o'clock every day, the sun's gonna be perfectly centered right above this fucking.
But to
thing.
build them as a scale model of Earth, you would have to know how big the Earth is, and they just did. How the fuck did they know that?
You know, how did they know that? Especially when supposedly we used to think it was flat too. So
Yeah,
it's like,
if you scroll down in my document to the very bottom, I have a quick little YouTube video that explains how the pyramids are literally a scale model of Earth.
Okay.
And that blew my mind because it doesn't make sense. Like, how could they know
Giza
that?
Plateau, Egypt. The Great Pyramid is arguably the most enigmatic structure on the face of the Earth. The Great Pyramid is aligned to within 3/60ths of a degree of north, a more accurate alignment than any other structure on Earth.
That's ridiculous.
When you look at the Great Pyramid's alignment, it's aligned very, very close to true north when they built it.
The Great Pyramid is not only perfectly aligned to the cardinal
These
points,
fools.
its placement on the Earth is seemingly intentional as well.
I also wonder what they mean by a line, though.
Pass a great circle from
Well,
the
what
Great
they
Pyramid.
consider the front is facing north, I guess.
Yeah, like this face of the pyramid is exactly north, and then these are like south.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it's like a perfect square, and the top of the square is facing north,
Right.
and that's east. And
Which is true because they could have easily just like
Canted it
off-canted
just
it
by a
or
little bit, yeah.
anything. It
So
could have
it's
been
like
in any direction.
The
Like,
fact that it would be a huge coincidence if like just throughout a randomizing of laying these stones, they ended up doing it perfectly on
and
the
a lot
on
of
the-
coincidences are about to rack up if this is true. You know what I mean?
and its ordinal directions, what you find is that these circles will pass through more landmass of the Earth than any other location on the Earth. You find that
okay, wait. So
Go back. Wait a minute. What did he say?
So essentially, he's saying that like if you were to draw lines, like I don't know what kind of
Emanating from the center being the
If you
pyramid.
pass a great circle from the Great Pyramid through its cardinal and its ordinal directions,
okay.
what you
So it's
find
north,
is
south,
that
east, west.
these circles will pass through more landmass of the Earth than any other location on the Earth.
This feels a little coincidental to me.
Okay, yeah, this one's a little
Like
weird.
this one's a little weird
Okay.
to me because I'm like, how do you?
But wait till we get to the math of the actual
No,
shapes
and
and
I
sides.
feel you. My thing is like, somebody sat around one day and was just like, all right, well, let me try this spot. And then draw the ordinary cardinal lines. Let me see how much land mass goes from there. All right, let me try this spot. Let me see how much land mass. You know, like it just seems like, I don't know how you do that experiment, why you do that experiment, and how they came to this conclusion.
Yeah, this is one of the ones I breezed over in this video, but
Yeah.
it was around a little bit later on in this video when they start talking
That's
about the numbers, where I'm like, holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fairly simple experiment to run. You just find, you would use the coordinates, the latitude and longitude coordinates of that spot, and then it's gridded out across the whole Earth. And then you could probably just plug it into a computer.
Yeah,
and
that's what I
calculate
imagine.
it for
It
you.
had to have
So
been a
it's-
calculator.
Yeah, like you wouldn't do it by hand. You would just say, now calculate the
model.
cardinal directions and tell me how much land mass the
Yes.
lines pass over.
But then also such an arbitrary variable too. Like, why?
Well,
is
no,
that
it's
important.
It makes it because the whole idea is that whole part of the world shouldn't even know that there is an American part of the world. Like the
So
new
by
world,
coincidence, they just hit all the
right?
land?
That's what he's
You know
saying.
what I
Like
mean?
they happen to be placing this pyramid not only at the true directions, but also if you follow those ordinal and cardinal directions all the way out, it covers the most landmass on the planet, even though people aren't supposed to know that there's landmass all the way on the other side. And so it's like an argument that maybe they knew about it.
Yeah, like we're trying to do that. Like we're trying to cover the most land mass or something is like, I guess what they're
It's a lucky shot.
But
It's just a lucky shot.
Well, how is that one a lucky shot, but
That's
the
joke.
other one
No,
we said wasn't?
that's what I'm saying. That's the joke. Is
saying
like,
is why are they deeming like that was something of value to them? Like, why? Maybe they did know that there was land, but why were they trying? Like,
I
are
see
they
what
trying
you
to
mean.
say like this was a teleportation device for you to be able to get?
I was thinking
across the
more so
land,
like
or-
if you start walking in any of these directions, like these are the directions that are gonna get you the most land.
I don't know.
Maybe you really want to walk on
It's
land.
essentially located at the centre of the world's landmass.
The Great Pyramid was built with the level of technological sophistication far in excess of anything that we
They said
have
located
today.
at the center of
They
Center
don't
of the
use
landmass,
the
yeah.
inch as we normally have it in the English system. It's the cubit. And what's interesting about this cubit is that it is exactly
Cubit.
1
Yeah, I like that.
25 millionth of the polar diameter of the Earth, meaning the distance from the North Pole to the South Pole of the Earth. Chop it up into 25 million pieces. There's your cubit. It's perfect.
Is if you actually take the
Wait, what?
So a cubit. So instead of using an inch or whatever, they were saying that a cubit is a measurement that if you add up 25 million of them evenly, it is the diameter between the two poles on the planet.
And this is what the Egyptian used. They used cubits.
Yeah.
That was their measurement.
And I
125 millionth of the size of the diameter of the planet.
It's very interesting. It will be very interesting. That one will be very interesting to me if it's 25 million round number. Like, I guess that is extremely coincidental.
They said it was
They did
perfect.
say it's
They said it
25
was
million, yeah. But I mean, I was because at first I was just like, again, like these.
Is that
seem
like a round number?
We're
or
just like comparing arbitrary like things. They were like, okay, what could a cubit fit into? Well, we were doing the math, and it's 25 million. The diameter. Like, oh, that's interesting.
I think their point maybe is that when you add all of these things together,
Yeah.
it seems highly unlikely that they're all coincidental.
No, it's
like maybe
definitely
one,
must be a
like,
lot
hey,
of
maybe the
precise
cubit
precision.
happened to be maybe.
Well, what did they say? They haven't really
but-
said anything about the cubit yet. They
length
just
of
told
the
us what it
Great
was, right?
Pyramid at its mean socket level, which is the corners of the actual building.
No, they
it
said
translates
that.
into
They said that they were using cubits to measure it, not inches, and the cubits were 125 millionth of a thing. But I mean,
Yeah,
they got a
but-
point because 1.86 feet is an odd measurement to use. But I mean, they're doing it on a whole different.
Not one to you, it's just
scale.
one.
Right. Yeah, to them, it's just one, right? Yeah. So it's like it's
Exactly 1/25 millionth of the polar diameter of the Earth, meaning the distance from the North Pole to the South Pole of the Earth. Chop it up into 25 million pieces. There's your cubit. It's perfect.
is if you actually take the length of the Great Pyramid at its mean socket level, which is the corners of the actual building, it translates into 365.24 pyramid cubits, which just happens to be the Earth a year right down to a quarter day.
yeah.
The
That
measurements of the
don't make
length
no
and
fucking
width of the
sense.
perimeter of the Great Pyramid.
If you take the location of the Great Pyramid as a coordinate,
This
this
dude
number
like
sequence of
just
this
capitalized
coordinate
on the meme.
matches
He was like,
exactly
"This is
the
what we're
speed of
doing."
light traveling through
Aliens.
space.
Did you hear
measured
that?
and
No.
matches
Yeah, see, this-
exactly
go
the
back.
unit. This number sequence of this coordinate matches exactly the speed of light traveling through space, measured in meters per second. This is amazing stuff. When you consider the vast amount of
pretty
information
crazy.
about the Earth that's encoded into the Great Pyramid, you can't just dismiss all of this as pure coincidence.
Yeah, that seems pretty.
I will give them that. You can't everything aggregated, right? Like it just doesn't seem
All
very
added up.
coincidental. But I'll play the devil's advocate on this one too, and I'll say, how many data points could I pull from space and Earth? Like if you just thought space and Earth, how many data points could I pull? And then now how
I
many?
mean, that's literally all the data points.
That's all. And then now of all the data points that I could pull from the pyramids and like their size, their shape, their direction, their everything, some of them might add up. Some of them could like intersect. They could. They could. Right?
It's not impossible.
I mean, because like I'm just saying, to me, when I think of all this, I'm just like, okay, speed of light to longitude. Like, why do those things correlate? And maybe this is just something that we lost along the way. Like they knew, they were like, you see, what y'all don't know is you can harness the speed of light if you just put something at longitude that equals the same meters per second, not feet per second, not miles, but meters per second to this longitude, not any other form of measurement.
The other ones I like better.
Like which one though?
The one where it's the measurement from corner to corner is the exact same length of a year down to like the
Yeah, that was
tiniest
fascinating.
thing. Like
That's
that's to me that's like, and there's 4 of them. every 4 years, like the leap year thing. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like the cycles, the lunar cycles, the thing that lines up, like stop. And it's
Yeah.
Orion's belt.
And they're still only talking.
Stop.
Yeah, I was about to say they're still only talking about the fact. Like, it's one thing. Like, maybe, like, let's say coincidentally they line this pyramid up with all of these interesting data points about the Earth. They also happen to be lined up conspicuously. That pyramid and the other two pyramids right next to it are lined up with Orion's belt, like perfectly. So it's like, not only did they build the big one to all these specifications, but then they put two little ones right next to it to mirror these stars right above them, like one of the most famous constellations in the whole sky.
And this shit is way older than we think it is, because if you look at the Sphinx, there's a great podcast with Robert Schoch where he talks about the water erosion. That fucking Sphinx is like 7,000 BC.
It's old as shit. It was there before the pyramids.
As shit.
Yeah.
And seriously, people are out here making crazy lion cat ladies with faces out in the middle of the desert like that. 10,000 years ago? Get the fuck out of here, bro.
It's fucking crazy.
Is it? It's like more like 12,000 years now, right? Like 2000. The 2000.
7,000.
The 2000 that we're in now is all AD years.
Yeah, so you would add that to the
To
7,000
the-
BC.
Okay, so 9,000
Be like
total.
9,000.
Okay, I feel you.
Yeah. So, like, the other interesting thing is that 12,000 years ago is right when that Younger Dryas impact happened.
Yeah, so we had
And we
the
lost all the information about any of this shit.
Yeah, we had the mega flooding. We had fucking like
Right, the flood.
We had a mini ice age.
Yeah.
We had all of this crazy shit happen.
In the
Like
Younger
Fire and
Dryas.
brimstone raining down from the sky if you happen to live next to a volcano.
Yeah, I mean that's where it kind of, my own theory blows up if it's precise. You know, like there's one thing to be said about like roughly 25 million. You know, like if it's qubits and from end to end it's roughly 25 million, or if it was
minus
just,
like
you know what
2
I mean? Like,
centimeters.
if it was like like within 5 qubits or something, or like same thing with the circumference to top side. If it's like, you know, if it was relative, then I would be like, I think y'all are stretching. But if I find out, and they're saying it is, but this is also like a TV show, so I don't know. But if I find out that the numbers are precise, meaning like it is exactly 25 million qubits from south to north pole, and this thing is exactly, like you said, 365.242 days or whatever, like that shit's weird.
Well, I mean, how much of a window would you give them? Like, I'd give them a plus or minus on quite a few of those things, because
I mean, if I'm supposed to believe that it's everything they say.
To get that close. I
but
mean,
how the fuck do they know that our planet is a giant fucking sphere that is hurtling through?
That's
fucking
25
space?
million cubits wide.
How did they know that?
I don't know if they did.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like we're making the assumption that they did this on purpose, and that's where a lot of other people like maybe they did. And I'm saying, like I said, if I find out to that level of precision, then I'm more willing to buy on the fact that they knew what they were doing. But what's hard for me is lacking the intent and motivation. You know what I mean? Like I just don't. I wish we knew what these pyramids were for. You know what I mean? Like if we knew what they did or why they, but some of these data points that they're pulling, it's just like, for what? Like why would I want
not only should we ask like how did they know and how did they build it? Some of these we don't know. Like to move tons of stone, you have to have like ramps.
Yeah, they've been talking.
Some of the stones that are in this pyramid, like the one that's over like the king's tomb or whatever, is like a big famous stone. You would have had to have a ramp that would still be there today.
Yeah,
that would be 10 times longer and bigger than the pyramid. That would be going up to it. That you would have to then drag that one stone up.
Paradigm.
It's crazy.
Paradigm though. You know what I mean? Like they might be, if they are this advanced in math. Same thing we just talked about, like longitudes to stars or some shit. Like maybe they know some other way of doing things that we just don't be knowing.
That's one of my favorite conspiracy theories, is they just knew how to levitate the shit.
I've heard that.
They could just chant and the vibrations would lift the rocks.
It's interesting that people take it to a spiritual place, because it could be magic. I'm not here to discredit magic.
I absolutely
think it was right.
Magic.
Like if you leave it up to me, I'm going magic.
It's magic.
I like magic. But for most people, they're not into magic and they
Well,
don't believe in like
For me, it's like magic is not
ethereal
really
things.
like magic to me is just
science.
something unexplained.
Yeah,
So like
it's true.
like okay, so for instance, the way that they put these pyramids, for example, together is magic to me because it's unexplained. Like
So yeah.
that's just magic.
Yeah,
Like I mean, like clearly it was put together.
Yeah.
So it's like unless you believe it was somebody or something else, then you have to accept that human beings who didn't have any sort of like advanced technology whatsoever
That we know
put these things together that we know of. Yes.
Well, because that's what.
Well, it's hard to say because, like, I mean, advanced technology, but I just mean advanced technology in the context of our day. Like, so that way people know, like, when I say advanced technology, I mean, like, modern day technology then.
Yeah.
So, like, yes, they obviously had advanced technology because they built this goddamn pyramid. Like, you're not doing that without advanced technology.
Yeah. But, you know, it's like paradigm, like Elon Musk, perfect example, right? Like, you do rockets for 30, 40 years or something, and then here comes a guy and he's like, you know, we can reuse these rockets. And you're like, what?
Reuse them.
What? No, we can use them again. Yeah, we're just going to build it like this. And then all of a sudden they go up and they come back down. And then you're just like, you know what I mean? Like mind blown. Now space travel's never the same again, you know? And then I in a sense, that's what I think about sometimes when you see people try to apply our common knowledge to these types of things, and they're like, they would have needed a ramp like a million times. And it's like, well, dummy, they didn't use a ramp. They used, you know,
They had
like
levitation beams, Holmes.
or you know, God, who knows? You know what I mean? Like they passed it up by like
What they
whatever,
did
something.
was it was a big water system. So they
Right,
would
yeah.
construct. No, listen to this theory. This is a pretty good theory. I came up with this. I haven't heard anybody else say this.
Let's see it.
So what they did was they calculated the density of these rocks, and they calculated how much salt you would need in the water to make these rocks float. So what you would do is you would just build a big shaft around a block, fill it with water, and then the rock would float up. You just push it all through the hole in the shaft into place.